I'll go ahead and
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next is our teacher and student recognition for the elementary.
Bulletin boards in the cafeteria, and when students behave appropriately, they're asked to put their name on the board. At the end of each month, I draw a name from each board and then announce their name over the speaker at morning announcements. They will also receive a special prize from the principal. The student's name can be on the board more than once and can be on multiple boards. Our goal is to fill up the board entirely. So, this is Miss Elle Bell. And she was on the board for using her inside voice. This is Shaylin. Shaylin was on the board for following directions. And this is Mr. Dangsweet, and he was on board for using good manners. Two of our recipients didn't show up this evening. They had other things to do. Hudson Radford and Paisley Willie.
Thank you all for coming and congratulations. All right, next is the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda before we start with the meeting? All right, seeing none, we'll turn it over to our friends from Gibraltar.
Mr. Madison, members of the board, Superintendent Cornett, tonight Gibraltar is going to present the design update for the next area of the project. Last time I was here, I presented the update for the high school, which was the central office and the receiving area. Tonight it's about the elementary school, where most of the work is being done on the project. So we'll talk a little bit about the schedule and the site. I'll start out with the site updates. Next time we come together on the schedule, the date that's up here says December 11th for approval to bid. Please ignore that. That's going to be, I believe, in March. We'll come back to the board for approval to bid. And then Tim will talk about the schedule after that as well. Let's go to the next one. The campus master plan. Last time I was here, I think what I showed you was just part of the master plan. Tonight we're going back to the original master plan for the campus, where you can see the future areas for a future track, future pavement areas where the tennis courts are, and pavement improvements between the elementary school and the high school, and the future campus drive that goes around the entire complex. This shows, the track shows a future 8-lane track being located in the northwest corner of the campus. It also shows on this here where the location of a storage building, which is actually part of the current project, is a new storage facility. And the location of that storage facility really has to do with the location of the future track, because with that comes athletic storage. The hurdles, pads, and all the things associated with track and field will be over there. Just like your storage for athletics now is close to the track, it will be that way for the future track. You also, don't forget, we also have part of the high school campus is what's going on in Irving Park. Currently, the tennis courts are under construction. And then this plan shows future improvements that are pending. These are not part of the project. These are a master plan for additional parking that goes along with the tennis courts, and probably in the future the new softball field being in the current position will be shown in this plan as well. I'm going to turn it over to Caleb to talk to you about the overall improvements for the elementary school. We've had a number of meetings with Trent and the admin team to talk about what the actual project includes, along with our partner Stillman, the budget. So everything we talked about here is going to be included in the current project. And I'm going to let Caleb go ahead and walk you through that.
So as Mike said, everything here is in the current project. This is the current, most up-to-date. You've seen an older version of this, but this current version has all of your classroom refreshes. It has improvements to your core area, your media center, your STEM, your robotics, and some updates to your Title I area, which used to be the original office for the building, and as well as some other student support improvements, technology upgrades. So the intent for your typical classrooms, this is your grades, kindergarten through 6, is to make it look and feel like a new classroom. So this would be new finishes, storage for teacher, student storage as cubbies, and then a new teaching wall reusing your existing BenQ interactive panels. And then as far as a pre-kindergarten classroom goes, all of the previous applies. The only difference is that they each get an individual private toilet. And then this is just a rendering of what your typical classroom would look like. This is looking at your teaching wall. It shows you your marker boards and your interactive panel. And then looking the other direction, this shows your student cubbies and other finished improvements to the classroom. And then as far as student support areas, this one is currently closest to your office. This is one of the old workrooms. It would be converted into a conference room and an office for speech and an office for your student resource officer. And then this area is another area for student support. This would be 2 flex offices. They could be used for psych office or OT/PT, and then as well as a student lounge or a faculty lounge. I'll turn it back over to Mike.
Thanks, Caleb. We've already completed the schematic design and the schematic design estimate, and that's how we were able to come up with the priority list that you've seen here. Because Blue River has already selected those priorities. We are now working towards what we call 35% design review with Blue River. That basically covers all the detail, everything that's included in the project. So we're approaching that phase of the project very quickly. And then as we get like a final review and final sign off with the admin team, Gibraltar will begin what we call construction document phase, or the design phase of the project. Those are the actual bid documents that we'll be working on, that will be put out to bid probably later, maybe in March or April. But those are the actual documents that the contractors actually put a price to. We call it construction drawings. So yeah, we're moving along pretty quick. So like I said, we're going to be back here in a couple of months for approval of bid, and before you know it, after the holidays. So it's going along well.
I'll hit on those dates real quick. So some maybe calendar reminders here. So March 15th is when we'll get the design drawings from Gibraltar. Internally at Skillman, that takes us about 2 weeks to process. There's some things that we'll work with you on. We've actually got to publish public notices for bidders, and we've got templates and things. We'll work with Trent and kind of pass that around. So publications, etc. That will happen on or around April 1st, but kind of generalized with April 1st, so we may move a few dates once we nail down the actual dates. But April 1st is when the documents will actually go out on the street. So it takes about 4 weeks to gain bidder interest in that. We're picking up the phone, we're shopping your project, we're calling the tier 1 contractors up, telling them this is a project you want to work and bid on. So we'll receive, in those 4 weeks, we'll receive bids on or around May 1st. And then at that May 13th school board meeting is when we will come and provide a letter of recommendation on those tier 1 subcontractors. Lowest and responsible bidder is typically what we will recommend. August 1st, thereabouts, we'll start construction. And I know that's a chaotic time, right? School starts, etc. Prior to that, we will come up with a phasing plan. So everybody will know where we're going first, where we're starting construction. If you went through the walkthrough that we toured at Shelbyville, you'll see temporary walls put up, sound considerations. We'll talk about work hours. If there are disruptions, how do we handle those with the principal? There's a lot of different kind of check marks before we actually come and put a hammer and nail in place. We are anticipating 12 to 13 months of construction. I say 12 of actual construction. So by that August 1st, start of school again, you should have your entire building back. With September, we can still have those things, the touch-up paint, kind of kicking the tires and different things like that we'll be tweaking, and then at the end of September, the start of September, we'll give your entire building back to you. That's the plan for right now. Questions?
In your schematic, the current stage isn't highlighted as being renovated. Thought that it was, might be huge for us to it. Are we gonna do anything with the current stage in the elementary, or do you have a plan for that?
That'll be like a phase 2.
Okay.
Yeah, phase 2, part of phase 2.
Okay. And then the other was just a comment, it's Irvin Park, not Irving, Veggie.
Thank you.
I just want to thank Mr. Funston, Mr. Rosillo, Mr. Davis, and the other Skillman and Gibraltar folks. Thank them for their expertise, their professionalism. They've been very patient with me, with moving through my first project, probably more than patient. We're trying to make every penny count in our $10 million project, but you wouldn't know whether we're doing $10 million or $210 million. They're always responsive, and have given top-notch quality service. And so it's much appreciated, and thank you for all of my goofy questions and my pushback here and there. And guys, it's much appreciated.
And thank you, Trent.
Appreciate that.
We do appreciate the opportunity to work with the school. And like you said, it doesn't matter if it's either 10 million or 100 million. We're going to provide service either way. So there's no such thing as too small of projects.
And, like Mr. Funston, just in 2 weeks ago, Skillman facilitated and lined up a tour for our team at Loper Elementary. They didn't have to do that. They took their time. Gibraltar was there with our team, and so it's just little things like that that are big things that are much appreciated.
Thank you. Glad to have you guys.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Skillman or Gibraltar? All right, Ms. Mom,
Thanks
let you
again.
guys out of here. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Oh, we'll take care of it. Thank you. Yeah.
All right, now we'll move on and see if we have any money. We'll get the bond issued here in a minute, maybe. Or be ready to issue the bond, I should say. First order of business on the 2023 bond is to have actually, the first order of business is we need to incorporate into our minutes an affidavit of publication of notice. So Kim took care of publication of public hearing with regard to the lease, which is a statutory requirement. She has that. So need a motion on that, or can we just have the minutes reflect that? So have the minutes reflect that we have received that affidavit of publication notice and part of the minutes of tonight's meeting. So with that, we can open the public hearing for comments on the lease agreement The lease agreement has been worked out with the building corporation. The logical question might be, well, what are the terms of the lease agreement, which I asked Mr. Kreider about. Essentially, we won't know those exact terms until we receive bids and accept the bid and know the total amount. It'll be a 22-year term, and so the bond payments will be made over that time period, but the amount and the interest and all of that will be a function of the bid and the market at the time.
Won't exceed 10 million.
Oh, yeah, but it won't exceed $10 million.
Won't affect the tax rate.
So with that, I'll open the public hearing. If there's anyone from the public that would like to speak with regard to the possibility of a lease with the building corporation for purposes of funding the bond, you can approach the microphone. And if there are none, then we have the minutes reflect that the public hearing was opened and closed without any comment. And our next task is a resolution determining the need for the project. And you got a copy of that, Andy?
Yeah, that's
Just as the highlights.
sure.
So, in this resolution, we just need to essentially determine that we have conducted an investigation into needed improvements, potential renovation, site improvements, purchase of equipment and technology. And to fund that, we want to lease all or part of essentially our real estate to the building corporation. So we need to find that a need exists for the project and the corporation cannot provide the necessary funds to pay the cost of the project required to meet such need. Therefore, it's deemed desirable to proceed with the necessary negotiations and all other steps to finance the project with the building corporation and the lease of such facilities. So it says, therefore be it resolved that a need exists for the project. The project cannot be funded from sufficient funds available to the school corporation. And that this board proceed to take such steps as may be necessary to secure the project and leasing of such school facilities as provided by Indiana Code Title 20, Article 47, Chapter 3.
Yeah, I think the need's obviously clear and the lack of funds is clear as well, so I'll make a motion as stated there.
Second?
Second.
Motion is second. Anything else before we vote? All those in favor of adopting the resolution determining the need for our capital improvement projects signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that resolution will stand approved. Next is we need to enter into or approve a resolution authorizing the execution of the lease agreement. So this, whereas on October 17th, we examined and approved a form of a lease agreement between the school building corporation and the school corporation. Notice was properly published on October 12th, and the said hearing has been held in accordance with the notice. So this is therefore be it resolved that the board of the school corporation, remember, preliminary plans and estimates provide the necessary facilities for the pupils of the school corporation. The same are approved, and any members of the board be, and they are hereby authorized and directed to endorse their approval on such plans and estimates. The proposed lease provides for a fair and reasonable rental, and further, the execution of the lease is necessary and wise. The secretary or assistant secretary of the board is authorized and directed to initial and date a copy of the proposed lease and place the same in the minute book immediately following the minutes of this meeting. The lease will be made part of this resolution as if fully set forth herein. Any officers of the board be and are hereby authorized and directed to execute the lease on behalf of the school corporation. And finally, that the officers of the board have full authority to execute any and all documents necessary to execute a lease and deed, if applicable, for the issuance of bonds secured by such lease, and that the use of electronic signatures by officers of the board or representatives of the school corporation are hereby authorized and affirmed with full valid legal effect and are enforceable. So is there a motion with regard to authorizing the execution of the lease agreement?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Anything else, questions before we vote? All those in favor of adopting the resolution authorizing the execution of the lease agreement as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, next we'll move on. Resolution assigning construction bids and contracts to the building corporation once received. So whereas the Blue River Valley School Corporation has or will receive construction bids and enter into contracts for the renovation of and improvements to facilities throughout the school corporation, including the potential renovation of the junior high corridor to add the 6th grade, site improvements, and purchase of equipment and technology. Now therefore be it resolved that construction bids and contracts relating to this project are hereby assigned to the building corporation once they are received. Any questions on that resolution?
So the building corporation will be paying the contractor with funds from the lease?
I believe that's the case, yes. So,
The school corporation will take the bids, and then assign everything, obligations, et cetera, to the building corporation, which will make the payment.
because then we'll essentially deed the property to the building corporation, pay a lease payment to the building corporation, and they will pay the bond. Did I state that correctly? Okay. That's why you're here, we'll make sure.
Yeah, right.
Any other questions on assigning the bids and contracts once received? Or is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second, any other discussion? All those in favor of adopting the resolution assigning the construction bids and contracts once received signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and our last resolution with regard to the leases, or the lease for this evening, is approving the first supplement to master continuing disclosure undertaking. That is a mouthful. So whereas a first supplement to master continuing disclosure undertaking has been presented to the Board of School Trustees in connection with the issuance of the Blue River Valley School Building Corporation ad valorem property tax first mortgage bond series 2023, whereas the board must approve the form of undertaking and the issuance of bonds, now therefore be it resolved that the board hereby approves the form of undertaking and hereby authorizes any officers of the board to execute such undertaking, and that any officers of the board are hereby authorized and directed to execute any and all documents and certificates necessary required in order to issue and deliver the bonds.
So what that is, that's because the bonds are gonna be sold publicly, it brings us under the jurisdiction of the Securities and Exchange Commission. And so this is basically a requirement that they have, reporting requirement to them. And it's an ongoing thing, so they don't want us to do it just once, they want us to do it many times.
It says, in Jane's notes here, it says the school corporation has previously entered into this type of agreement. It says requires that the school corporation agree to timely provide certain financial information to the SEC's EMMA database and provide notice of any material events. There'll be a quiz later. So.
No, this one I'm really tracking. The other ones I understood, this one's a little.
One more thing, the building corporation met on the 9th, and we signed all the complimentary documents to the school corporation signing, and so this should be it for pretty much for the bond issue. And I think we're scheduled for the 21st to close.
So I'll make a motion, we approve the first supplement to the master continuing disclosure undertaking.
Second.
Motion and second. Anything else? Questions or concerns? All those in favor of approving the resolution, approving the first supplement to master continuing disclosure undertaking, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, resolution will stand approved. So that's the last item I have on the 2023 bond topic. All right, so I guess you're off the hook if you want to be.
See you later.
All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate
Good to
your
see
help.
everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Wright.
All right, some of the more routine things. Approval of the minutes, the October 17th minutes and November 6th meeting from our executive session have been circulated. Any additions or corrections to those minutes?
Move we accept the minutes as presented for both the October 17th and November 6th meetings.
Second.
Motion and second. Anything else? If not, all those in favor of approving the minutes of October 17th and November 6th as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? will stand approved. Next, we'll open the floor for public comment. I don't know if anyone signed up wishing to speak, but if you wish to speak, if you want to make your way to the microphone, state your name and what business you have with the board this evening. If there are none, we'll have the minutes reflect that no one chose to speak for public comment. Board President's comments, I'll just forego my comments this evening and we'll let Trent take over.
I have no comments this evening, Mr. Mattis.
So, moving on, our standard board actions have resolution 2023-11-1, the October financial report was provided to each of you. Questions or concerns on the financial report? Or a motion?
I make a motion that we accept resolution R 2023-11-1.
Second.
Motion and second. Anything else? All those in favor of adopting resolution 2023-11-1, the October 23 financial report, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next is the claims report, resolution 2023-11-2. Again, the accounts payable voucher is presented for your review. Questions or concerns on the claims report?
Move we accept resolution 2023-11-2.
Second.
Motion and second. Any final questions or discussion? All those in favor of adopting resolution 2023-11-2 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Next is resolution 2023-11-3, the November 13th personnel report. Hiring of student intern Sierra Stroud, high school custodian, minimum wage effective September 13th, September 13th, 2023. And resignation of non-certified staff member Robin McGrady, special education paraprofessional, effective November 21st, 2023.
I make a motion that.
November 13th? Okay. So I need to amend the resolution. It should say November 13th instead of September 13th, 2023 on item 1, Sierra Stroud.
Correct, yeah, that's today, 11/13.
So is there a motion with regard to the personnel report as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Anything else?
Just real quick, I think it's the first student intern I've seen. Is this a current high school student or is it a?
Yes.
Oh, sure.
It's a current high school student that's,
She's in the property management class at the Career Center, and transportation was a struggle for her to do a work-based study. So she asked if we would have an opportunity. Mr. McCormick asked Mr. Farley and myself what we thought about it, and figured it was worth a shot.
Yeah, sounds like a neat opportunity. Hasn't it?
Okay. I lost track. We already had motion and second, correct?
Yep.
Okay, motion and second. Anything else? All right, if not, all those in favor of approving resolution 2023-11-3 as amended, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, next is old business. Approve the Jewel settlement with Altria, Philip Morris. This has kind of been an ongoing thing, but you'll see some information, which I think we got via email some time ago, but got a settlement offer through the class action lawsuit. $4,201 to resolve our claims that we may have against Altria. I think it's recommended by our council that we accept that. Again, that's part of a class action, larger lawsuit, so that's money that we will receive. So I don't know if there are any questions, if you've had a chance to look at the letter, and if you need to authorize Mr. McCormick to enter into the settlement agreement on behalf of the corporation.
Move we authorize Trent to accept the settlement.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor of authorizing Mr. McCormick to enter into the Jewel settlement with Altria Philip Morris as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So Mr. McCormick will get that to Mr. Harvey and hopefully get funds moving. And then move on to new business. Approval of the student transfer report. We have one transfer, 8th grader, recommended approval. Is there a motion with regard to the transfer request list?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion or questions? All those in favor of approving the student transfer list as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, next is approval of the 2023-2024 contract with the Classroom Teacher Association. So we have talked about that before, had a public hearing on that issue, and that's been negotiated between the parties, and we got an agreement, which has been documented here. And appreciate both sides' hard work to get this done. I think it's usually a pretty amicable discussion, but nonetheless, it is a discussion, bargaining, and appreciate everybody working on that. So I don't know, Mr. McCormick or Mr. Chernowski, if there's anything that needs to be said on that, or we just need to get pen to paper and.
In general terms, we agreed on a $1,200 raise to the base for eligible staff members, and then eligible teachers, and then all teachers will receive a $500 stipend, which the intent of that was to help offset some of the increase that was imposed. Anthem increased our insurance by 9% this year. So we added BCA, head bowling coach, also some I think esports. Is there anything else, Zoe Ann?
Department head for special needs.
Thank you. Department heads for the special ed program. I think that's mostly the bigger items.
Mr. Chernowski, anything from your perspective?
No, I mean, it went pretty smoothly.
Good.
I know both sides appreciate it.
All right. With that, is there a motion with regard to the 2023-2024 contract between the Board of School Trustees and the Classroom Teachers Association?
With a big way to go, I make a motion, we approve the 2023-2024 contract with our Classroom Teachers Association.
Second.
Motion and second. Anything else before we vote? If not, all those in favor of entering into the contract as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thanks to everyone involved. All right, next is the first reading of policy H250, the school library material removal request procedure, and H250E, the removal request form. Minutes? Yeah. So if anyone wants to speak on, I know this is statutorily required now. I'm not sure who took the lead in putting everything together, but I don't know if anyone wants to speak on it or just document our first reading.
This is a legislative mandate, and it has to be in place by January 1 of 2024. We already approved policy C225 back in 2022, and that dealt with curricular materials and surveys. So it's kind of, this H250 is kind of the next step underneath policy C225. And as it indicates, it's if someone wants to request that something be removed from our school library, this is the mechanism to do so. So this is first reading for policy H-250, which is also a church HIDL policy, so it fits verbiage-wise into what we already have. And then the associated form H-250-E is what someone would fill out to begin that request. We'll do obviously the second reading in December, and then this will be ready. We'll put it up on the website and be ready to go for January 1. I want to thank Mrs. Wordinger and Mrs. Jenkins especially. Most of the admin team glanced at this, but Mrs. Wordinger and Mrs. Jenkins really took the lead on this, and I appreciate their extra efforts in getting this, put together.
All right, so I think our minutes can reflect that we conducted a first reading and we'll consider final approval in December. All right, next is the Solar Eclipse Day Plan, April 8th. That is in your packet. I know it was recommended, I think, by Henry County Emergency Management folks that essentially we do an e-learning day. So it looks like the plan is, based on the email here dated October 31st, the actual solar eclipse day, we would utilize an asynchronous e-learning day. And then Wednesday, April 10th is already scheduled, an afternoon e-learning day. So we don't have two e-learning days in the same week. Pros have changed this to a regular in-person school day. There's plenty of time to make this change and get it messaged out to the community. So we'd have a full e-learning day on April 8th instead of a half e-learning day on April 10th. Is that a fair summary?
Correct.
Okay. And again, that was recommended. I think all the corporations in Henry County are going this route as far as an e-learning day on the Eclipse Day.
Yeah, it's serious. I mean, Blue River Valley is literally on the eclipse arc.
Right.
And so that in and of itself is important historically, but, emergency management folks, other experts, they don't know what the traffic, they are anticipating potentially, automobiles and people from all over the country converging on the arc to, be a part of that. All the way to the other end of the spectrum, I literally heard someone say they're not sure how wild animals will react that day. Or pets, so it's probably more to the fact of just the safety of, we don't want kids on the bus or staff traveling. I think the eclipse is supposed to maybe start around noon-ish and then go till 4 or 5. And so just that uncertainty of that time period, hopefully it's much ado about nothing, but there are school districts many miles away from the arc that are going e-learning that day. So we'll fall, we're choosing to fall in line, and hopefully it will be, again, much ado about nothing, but better safe than sorry. And the local, as Mr. Madison said, the local emergency management folks kind of hinted that they wanted local schools to, not be in person that day, so.
Did we make the adjustment to the ordering days as John described?
Second.
Motion and second. Anything else? If not, all those in favor of approving the solar eclipse plan as presented via email dated October 31st, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next is the approval of the 2024-2025 school calendar. Sounds like a long way away, but it's not. So I know there were a couple different iterations, and this is the final one of the calendar. Any questions, concerns, or highlights that admin would like to point out with regard to the calendar?
It pretty much mirrors last year. We also, for Career Center reasons, we like to match up where we can with Newcastle School District. And they had passed a 2-year calendar year, so that was visible to us online. At a couple of our teachers' requests, which is much appreciated, we moved the last day of the first quarter from October 18th to the 4th, which does make more sense. People, I think, students, people like to breathe a sigh of relief and go on fall break, knowing quarter one's behind them. So I think those are the, we did try to unsuccessfully kind of move, the first weeks, that August 5th through the, 9th is the same week as the Moreland Fair. But, if you go starting school on August 12th, you'd really have to squeeze some things later on that, start taking, take away President's Day, which is a nice break in February. And so we opted to leave the start of school that week of August 5th and have to grin and bear the start of school and Moreland Fair simultaneously that week. So have to eat some extra elephant ears and bear the pain.
Questions or concerns on the calendar as presented?
Make a motion to approve the 2024-2025 school calendar.
Second?
Motion and second. Anything else? All those in favor of approving the 2024-2025 academic year calendar as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, calendar will stand approved. Next is a resolution, the Education Fund additional appropriation. So it's been determined that it's now necessary to appropriate more money than was originally appropriated in the 2023 annual budget. Now therefore be it resolved that expenses of the taxing unit, the following additional sums of money are hereby appropriated out of the fund's name, subject to the laws governing the same. Out of the Education Fund, $400,000. Now we discussed this last month a little bit, right? Or did we? That was the hearing? Okay, so this is potential final action on the resolution.
This is in lieu of the monthly adjustments, is that right? No.
This is totally different.
Okay.
We passed our budget in 2022 for this year. When the state approved it, they reduced our education to an amount that is not sufficient for our needs. We have a cash balance available, but we can't spend it without the additional appropriation.
It has to be appropriated. Okay, gotcha.
So the money's there, we just need to move it to a different bucket to spend.
Well, we have to have the state. You have to approve the additional appropriation and the state will approve it for us.
Move we accept the resolution for additional appropriations as presented.
Second?
Motion and second. Anything else? All those in favor of approving the resolution for additional appropriations in the amount of $400,000 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next is the approval of a donation to the athletic department, which is Mary Lou and Anthony Cox, $225 donation for athletics. They put golf outing in the memo line. So I guess we need to receive that donation.
Make a motion to approve the donation to the athletic department.
Second?
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. And next, the National Soils had a donation of $200 from Mr. and Mrs. Whaley. So we need to accept that.
Make a motion to approve the donation to National Soils Team.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, next is the 2023-2024 non-certified staff salaries. He's got a list of applicable employees, their 2022-2023 rate, 2023-2024 rate, change. So, take any questions or entertain a motion to approve the salaries as presented.
Make a motion, we approve the salaries as presented.
Second.
Motion second. Anything else before we vote? All those in favor of approving the 2023-2024 non-certified salaries as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those will stand approved. Next is the administrator's salaries. Same situation there. You see the rates, 2022 to 2023, and then 2023 to 2024, and then two stipends as noted. Again, entertain any questions or a motion.
I make a motion to approve the 2023-2024 administration salaries.
Second.
Motion and second. Anything else? If not, all those in favor of approving the administrator salaries for 2023-2024 as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Anything else that I missed on the agenda? All right, if not, we'll stand adjourned. I think we do have an executive session for the board after this. Get everything signed and then we'll handle that business. Thank you all for coming. See